The Closing Bell, Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close, starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Scarlet Fu, taking you through the closing bell, a global simulcast. It starts right now. Massar and Tim Stenovec joining us in the radio booth. Alix Steel, she was just too afraid of those NVIDIA earnings, decided to take the day off.
She's not
here.
afraid of
But
anything.
we welcome all of our audiences across all of our platforms here, including our partnership with YouTube, on what I'm told, Massar, could be the most consequential day in the history of America.
Oh, man. Okay, now you're like pushing it. But it's an important one for the markets. We know that NVIDIA, what happens in terms of earnings, how it trades, it has impacted the trade, overall the equity markets a lot. The sell-off that we saw in NVIDIA and then the big bounce back. You can even, I feel like you can see it in the lead up to it, like the volatility that we've seen in the markets overall today, Tim.
It's not just NVIDIA, though. I mean, certainly a big story.
It is about NVIDIA.
We're still getting earnings.
Yeah, but it's still about NVIDIA, too.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. We got
Romaine,
Salesforce,
tell him it's
we got
about
Okta, we're gonna hear
NVIDIA.
from CrowdStrike. We're going to hear from a firm a little later. There's other companies out there.
Firm's not going to move the market like NVIDIA does.
Come on.
That is true.
Come on, guys.
Well, I mean, all those.
Are you going to back me up a little bit?
I actually do back you up here. I mean, look, I mean, we talk about the outsized importance of NVIDIA because of its weightings, but of course, some of those other companies you mentioned, of course, will give us a little bit of a better read about kind of economic conditions. NVIDIA is kind of in its own world, and we talk about this idea here that when you have a company that's so outsized in the market here, how do you push back on that if you're an investor? Do you just go along for the ride? This is sort of like don't fight the Fed, don't fight NVIDIA.
You have to go along for the ride because, I mean, if not, then you're going to underperform, and that's the risk out there for any active investor.
All right, we're going to walk you through all of those earnings, including NVIDIA. So let's get right to the numbers here on a closing basis. Everything pretty much in the red across the board. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down more than 100 points or 0.4%. The S&P down more than 30 points or 0.6%. The NASDAQ is going to close out the day down by more than 1%, and the Russell 2000, Massar, closing the day down by about 0.7%.
All right, so a little bit lower. So back to the big caps I go, guys. You had about 214 names in the S&P 500 actually gaining ground today, 285 losing ground, and then Scarlet, you had 4 unchanged.
All right, let's take a look at the IMAP. It's going to be pretty much a red pizza pie. A little bit of green there. The only green really is in the financials and the healthcare space, and they're marginally higher. The big laggards on the day, tech, consumer discretionary, and communication services, which basically encompasses the Magnificent Seven. You've got consumer discretionary and tech each down at least 1%, Carol.
All right, guys, to some of the individual movers. We have Chewy up about 11% today, rallying to the highest in about a year, to its highest, I should say. The company came out second quarter results and gave an outlook that was positive. We've got some earnings. We probably should go to them.
Let's do Salesforce now, crossing the wire right now. In its most recent quarter, sales coming in slightly above estimates at about $2.07 billion. The street was looking for $2.01. Operating income beating slightly here, $3.14. The street was looking for $2.96. EPS also a slight beat at $2.56 a share. Here's your forecast for the full year. The company is guiding revenue $37.7 billion to $38 billion. That's the range that it's giving. The street was looking on average for $37.8 billion here. So relatively in line with estimates on the forecast and a modest beat, guys, for the most recent quarter.
All right, let's take a look at NetApp, which is a storage company, so it's hardware. And NetApp reporting for the quarter that ended, EPS that beat analyst estimates, $1.17 for the quarter. Excuse me, that is on a net basis. Adjusted EPS, $1.56 versus a consensus estimate of $1.45. Revenue also topping the average analyst estimate. As for this quarter, it sees net revenue of anywhere from 1.57 to 1.72 billion. The consensus estimate is 1.62 billion, and NetApp still sees full-year adjusted gross margin of 71 to 72%. The stock not moving yet in after-hours trade.
Okay, I'm taking a look at shares of Okta. They're not moving in after-hours trading either, but second quarter adjusted earnings per share did beat estimates. EPS came in at 72 cents versus estimates of 61 cents. Revenue was up 16% year over year. It came in above estimates at $646 million. All
right. We do want to go back to Salesforce, of course, at least for right now. That is the biggest company reporting out there here. The president and CFO of the company, Her name's Amy Weaver. She is stepping down from the company, though she will remain CFO until a successor is named. I'm not quite seeing the reason for her departure here, but of course we do know there has been a lot of talk here about the C-suite up there at Salesforce, whether some of the folks there were aging out, whether they needed to change. Amy Weaver, the president and CEO, going to be stepping down once a successor is found for her position.
Yeah, it looks like she was named CFO back in early 2021, so been there for a few years. Let's go to another one crossing the retailer Five Below, guys, coming out with its latest results. Let's go to the outlook. Fiscal year adjusted EPS, $4.35 to $4.71. Looks like it's opening a little bit of that range. The estimate out there is $4.75, so that's below that. The stock, though, is up almost 4% here. Third quarter adjusted EPS, 10 to 22 cents. Estimate on the street is 15 cents a share. Third quarter net loss of $2 million to $13 million, and third quarter net sales of $780 million to $800 million. The estimate on the street is $790.2 million. And let's go to the second quarter. Last quarter, what it did, second quarter EPS, 60 cents a share, and that's 6 cents better than what the street was expecting. And Scarlett, you've got that stock rallying about 5% here.
Yeah, Five Below up 5%. Of course, they sell affordable items.
Nice. Five Below up 5%.
No, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you're right. They do sell
That's
affordable
why I'm here,
items.
for useless facts.
Keep them coming. You know, any company that delivers value to a consumer is in fashion right now. I'm just looking at the overall after-hours trade right now in terms of most active stocks by value, and Salesforce up almost 2%. But the other names that we've gone through, you're not seeing a whole lot of activity in those companies in after-hours trade. NVIDIA, we should mention, up marginally after declining in regular trading before its results come out.
Okay, so now as investors have had a chance to check out shares of Okta and the results of Okta, shares down about 3% in the after hours. This does come after the company reported its latest results that did show that it beat on the top line and on the bottom line.
I am curious, guys. I mean, obviously, we're kind of biding time here until we get to those NVIDIA earnings here. And there's been a lot of talk here about the weighting in the S&P, almost 7%, 11% in the NASDAQ composite, 14% in the SOX. So it doesn't matter what this stock does. It's going to move the broader market. We're getting some other earnings right now.
All right, so let's get to them. We've got CrowdStrike crossing the Bloomberg terminal. Let me just bring it up here on my terminal. And you've got CrowdStrike second quarter revenue, folks. It's a slight beat, $963.9 million compares to the estimate of $958.2 million. Second quarter adjusted EPS, also a beat, $1.04. So that is 7 cents better than what the street was expecting. Nonetheless, right now you're looking at CrowdStrike down about 0.8, about 0.5% here in the aftermarket.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the comments here, and they did have a comment here about in response to rising point productivity complexity. Boy, that's a lot of corporate talk. And an elevated threat environment, organizations increasingly focus on consolidating their cybersecurity vendors into a streamlined platform that delivers better security outcomes, which is CrowdStrike Falcon. Again, the big issue for CrowdStrike this past quarter was what happened with its systems and how it brought down Microsoft. It felt like every industry.
Yeah, they refer to that July 19th incident at the top of the press release. They said, working with customers to recover from the July 19th incident, we emerge as an even more resilient and even more customer-obsessed CrowdStrike, continuing to aggressively invest in innovation. The big question I think a lot of investors have about that is, to what extent do CrowdStrike customers end up going to competitors as a result of that outage that just affected so many different industries?
All right, also getting some news in terms of the outlook, guys. The company CrowdStrike sees fiscal year revenue of $3.89 billion to $3.9 billion. So it's reining that in. It had seen that fiscal year revenue outlook at $3.98 billion to $4.01 billion. But nonetheless, investors are like, okay, right now the stock's up about 3% here, Romaine, in the aftermarket.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I'm kind of glad we had a chance to go through some of these. I know they're kind of second tier compared to NVIDIA, but we talk about all these names basically kind of in that broader software tech space, and you are getting a better sense here of the health of these companies, and more importantly, the health of corporate spending. And that, of course, is going to be a big theme when we get to NVIDIA. We know they're making a lot of money. We know they have revenue growth here, but we've already heard from some of the big hyperscalers that they have taken a closer look at their AI spend and decided that maybe it was a little bit too much too soon.
You know, that's funny that you bring that up, too, because I was thinking about, we had a conversation with Ian King, and he was talking about specifically for NVIDIA, when I'm just pulling up the supply chain function analysis on the Bloomberg, and that when you've got a company like Microsoft that's already 45% of their CapEx spend is NVIDIA. Meta, it's 41%. How much more can they get from their big customers? It's something to think about what the future spend is and how that impacts NVIDIA and their top line going forward.
I don't want to cut into your long goodbye, but that's a great point. And I really encourage everyone to do that. It was an SPLC, because I was looking at that this morning, too, and I didn't realize how much of NVIDIA's revenue was dependent on basically just 5 big tech companies.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was like more than 50%.
Super microcomputer.
Yes.
Like a who's who of big tech, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad I
it's a little smaller
stretch
tech
out
now
those
after today's
goodbyes
sell-off.
and I bring you added
Still
information?
pretty big tech.
We didn't get to the decliners, but Super Micro was top of the list for me, guys.
All right, NVIDIA, guys, just up about 1/10,
Thanks, Sam.
unchanged in the aftermarket. You know what, Scarlett, I'm with you. I'm just going to say I'm with you. All right.
Look at that.
NVIDIA to come,
Nepotism.
everybody. All right. That's a wrap for cross-platform radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. We both, on both sides, watching for those NVIDIA earnings. But the team will see you again, same time, same place tomorrow.